This is Openly Outspoken with Jeremy Adams, where differing opinions are not only accepted, they're encouraged.
All right, Los, we're live.
What is up?
Good hanging. And I don't know if you could see, I just saw it. I'm wearing one of those like back braces from sitting in your chair. You know how you hunch over because if you sit so much all day. So I'm wearing one that like holds your shoulders back. They're $20 or so on Amazon, and they're pretty life changing. And I just realized it's in the video shot, but I'm just gonna leave it on because I got to get my posture right. What happens though is they eventually like it gets to a point where I don't need it anymore because I'll feel it where it's like fits looser, which essentially it fits looser because my posture is corrected, and then I'll take it off, and then it gets back to the old ways. So I got to make it a habit of wearing it like every time I'm at my desk. But anyhow, enough about that. I just saw it on the video. I wanted to bring that up. Recommend it for anybody that sits down and works a lot. So what's going on, Los? What's exciting with you lately?
We have our event here next week, so I've been prepping a lot for that. Josh and I are doing our event in Miami, which is it's awesome, but it also sucks because I'm missing yours and you're missing mine, so we just didn't plan according on that one. Next time it won't be the same. But yeah, man, it's a lot of work going through that event. We got about 100 people coming. So it's a ton of just planning, prepping. We're trying to make it like the biggest one we've had so far.
Yeah, no, I mean, we'll definitely have to coordinate moving forward. That was a total amateur move on our end, but that's what happens when we had to delay our first event all year because of COVID stuff, and then June kind of made sense, because you got to get a few in a year, and like it can't be later than June for that first one.
Yeah, and no one does summer. Summer has like summer slumps, especially for events and stuff, so I didn't want to do it then, especially because everyone wants to travel. So if you have kids or family, you want to get out. You probably don't want to go to a marketing event. So we did June as well. And then the next one for us is October. And then you have August and November.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm excited to be part of yours moving forward. And then we're actually starting to line up our 2022 dates right now. So what we'll do is we'll communicate those with you and make sure the chances are pretty small, but that's what we thought until this year, until we realized not only at first I thought it was the same week, but then I realized it was the same exact 2 days. So what are the chances of that? But of course that's what we did. But yeah, we'll definitely be at future ones, and I'm excited about that. So what Los is referring to, by the way, him and Josh are partners in Powerhouse Mastermind, and then I'm partners in a mastermind called Founders Mastermind. And there's not that many groups I really enjoy being a part of because there's just so many out there, and a lot of them are kind of junk with giant ego. But obviously I'm looking forward to being a part of your group, and you guys are a part of our group. I think we have a lot of opportunity to really dominate our industry with our mastermind groups. And yours is more e-com store specific. Ours is more general IM and e-com, and so I do think there's a lot of opportunity for us to collaborate. I don't really even view us so much as competitors,
No, I think it's an assistance. Like a lot of people from yours are probably doing e-commerce, but for us, it's a lot more on channels, influencers, marketing, logistics. It's not just media buying, and yours is more heavily set for media buying. So I think it's a great addition. The average person realistically buys more than one mastermind. They have more than one group. I would really not just because we're on the call. Like I think we have the two best ones. Like I've spoke at every single one in the world. So have you. So is Max. So is Josh, and so is Tim. And I don't think they come close, man. The people we're getting, the average person in our group is not just a quick little 7-figure entrepreneur. There's nothing wrong with that, but they're doing multiple millions to 8 figures. And that's what we wanted. We wanted the highest level of people we could potentially build business partnerships with, get equity in, and grow, and not just have the same conversations of like, well, what do I do? What kind of landing page is that? And like, what kind of software is like, that's basic. Like we're past that. We want to talk about bigger issues. How do we sell companies? How do we grow? And we've got a lot of cool things lined up with Powerhouse. the brand. We're expanding into Powerhouse Wealth. We're also doing Powerhouse Apparel, and so I think you guys are going to start seeing a lot of the same things with you, especially because we talk every day. So like we'll have a lot of similarities.
No, for sure. So is that a lot of people ask me, because from a revenue standpoint, obviously the direct ROI on a mastermind, there's a lot more lucrative businesses, but I'm looking at the mastermind really long term for us because it's a lot of work. I mean, this is maybe the hardest I've ever worked in my life to put this mastermind on. So what my motivation is the long term deal flow, the opportunities, the partnerships that we're going to make, getting maybe some equity in businesses here and there where it makes sense. And, is that really your main motivation for the mastermind, or what inspires you to wake up every day and put this much time and energy into these things?
Yeah, it's definitely not the money. I think also like Josh and I, and you guys are the same. I don't want to do something and like not do the other thing. So like I would never just have a mastermind and that would be like my job, because I'd be like, I don't really know what I'm talking about anymore. So we always have to be actively involved in things. For me, Josh and I want to build this into like the YPO for direct-to-consumer people, a big organization. We want to create like the best network inside of that. We think that it's a missing gap for people in e-commerce. Everyone talks about Facebook, Pinterest, and then they kind of leave it at that. They don't know conversion. They don't know email. They don't know text. They don't know channels. They don't know influencers. They don't know branding. They don't know how to sell. Like they don't even know what EBITDA is. And so like, those things are what we want to help people get good at and grow. It's a lot about the relationships, and Josh and I are getting, once every 6 months right now, we are getting involved as advisors or in some different capacity on equity inside businesses that are doing 5 million plus all the way up to 20 million. And that, that's exciting, the deal flow, the opportunity flow. Josh and I are probably not going to ever just start a random business again. Like that's the hardest thing to do. So if we can get in on something and add fuel to that fire, I think that's more something that we're interested in doing. And from Powerhouse, actually, other businesses have spawned. Like we have an email marketing company, Powerhouse Campaigns. We have a customer support, Powerhouse Support, and we're just finding the gaps of where people need support inside of that particular marketplace and filling them. And it's made Powerhouse grow pretty fast.
No, that's awesome. Another idea that I'm convinced if somebody could crack this code in our industry, we would be, set up our families for future wealth and like for generations to come. A staffing company specific to internet marketing and e-commerce. If someone could crack that code, no one in their family would ever have to work again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's challenging.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. We've worked with a few people because we have some people. Our operations girl basically helps hire people on the side, but turning it into a full staffing thing it's just hiring good talent in internet marketing is a rough game. It's definitely something that I agree with you. I think you'd be set, but it's just that responsibility of being like, you're the reason I got hired, and like if someone sucks, and culture, and there's so many other factors that go into it, not just having a skill set.
There's such a low barrier to entry. Like if you and me had a manufacturing company and we hired a CEO to run that manufacturing company, the barrier to entry for them to start their own manufacturing company is a much different ballgame. They'd have to get a facility. They'd have to get insurances. If we have a really talented media buyer or some marketing person, they can easily just like go start their own drop shipping business with little to no capital and little to no barrier to entry. So for people that don't know what we're referring to, what happens in our space is, and by the way, I think the solution, we're kind of getting clear on what that could potentially be, and we can dive into that if you want, but we have such a hard time retaining good talent because once they know they're good, which there's, the top 5% or the top 3% of talent in our space, and then there's everybody else. And once they know they're good, they have unlimited access to work and opportunities because there's such a shortage of good talent, and every business wants to be more effectively marketed online. And we run into that challenge quite a bit.
So I've had a lot of people leave because they think they're trying to compete against me. They're like, oh, Los, I'm better than Los, I'm better than the group here, blah, blah, blah. And I've let them. I'm like, go after it, brother. Go do your thing. And they all end up getting a job somewhere else because they think that their skill Their one skill is like, okay, now I'm a business owner. I can run a business. You might be a decent freelancer and you might have like one or two people, but like they think they can go out and build multiple $1 million companies quick, a quick e-commerce business, a quick little agency, a quick information product. They're like, yeah, and I'll make $5-10 million just like they do, blah, blah, blah. Do it. Like, go ahead. I challenge you to go ahead and do it because it's rough, bro. It's rough staffing team. Now you have to be the one that like, oh, I don't know if this is going to work. Let me put $50K down just to test it. I don't know if that's going to work. Let's have $200,000 a month in overhead. Like, sure, if you want to have a lifestyle business, maybe, but you also have to like know how to hire people, know how to work, know how to have clients, or know how to do e-commerce. What's the products? What's staying relevant? Are you turning into a brand? It's way more like building. We're good at building businesses. We're great at marketing, sure. But if you take the marketing away, we can go build a local business, no problem. We know the ins and outs now of like logical business building. And I think that that's where people that leave you or I or whoever, they misalign themselves with like the concept of like, oh, I can go be rich because everyone on the internet is saying it. And then you try it out and you're like, man, I'm just a freelancer that can barely get 4 clients. And then I lose one and I'm back to struggling.
Yeah. No, and that's what I've learned. And I've come to the realization that did I just lose your video? That was strange. There we go.
I don't know.
Yeah, I've come to the realization that we're just gonna lose some people just because that's inevitable, kind of what we're talking about. Like if we're they watch enough of Max's trainings or but what I will say is we're starting to really do our best to build a top tier culture, to be as competitive as we can with salary. Our team is fully remote now. So what I've realized as well is we've created kind of that entrepreneurial freedom. They're not complete entrepreneurs, but they have certain aspects where it's just like, hey, I get the freedom, I get flexibility, but I'm not necessarily risking financial capital. So I get kind of like the security of a job, but the freedom of an entrepreneur. And that's what we're kind of working our hardest to build. That's easier said than done too, because you obviously want to have some form of accountability and quality control as you're scaling a company. But what are your thoughts on that? I mean, do you feel like that's the middle ground to retain talent in this space, is get rid of the risk, but give them the freedom?
Because of COVID, we've done the same. So there used to be 18 people here, and now there's 7, and those 7 lead something in one of our businesses, whether it's e-commerce, digital, events. They're like the leaders. They've been with me. The guy that's been with me here the least has been with me 5 years. Then I got people that have been here 8 and 9, right? So they're leadership, and we don't hire anybody else in the office. This culture, the leadership cultures are very specific culture, and everything else is now remote. And it's allowed us to hire really significantly better talent than we could in Orlando. You know how hard it is because we both live here. You're not running around with the best media buyers on the planet. There's people that have marketing degrees from Full Sail, which respectfully is kind of a joke. And there's a lot of people that think they're good because they do some local here and there. Like the talent here is just not going to be top tier. And so allowing yourself to go remote has made it a lot easier for us. It's also taught us to be way more systemized, because we used to just be like, oh, let's have a meeting. Come on, do this. And now it's like, you can't do that. Like you have to have meeting structure, full cadence on everything. Everything has to be reported differently. We have to know like on our Monday boards, like what's happening here and there. And so it's made us, more efficient, which actually has saved us more time. Like we're less busy, but we're doing more, which I think is a great sign of like having good operational efficiency.
Yeah. On that note, would you agree that people coming out of college with a marketing degree are basically useless in our industry if they don't have actual experience working like with a brand or something? I mean, like these colleges preparing them so poorly, even from Full Sail.
Dude, a marketing degree is the equivalent of a high school diploma to me. Like it doesn't mean anything at all. I can put you into any basic scenario and you have no clue what it is. And so I think the best thing is to like put their feet in the fire, teach them, give them our, whether it's ours, yours, a lot of other people that I don't even know's courses. Like people are putting out way better content than universities. Other people are mad at like, oh, I don't want to pay $1,000 for this. I already paid $60 and I'm in debt. Like, dude, that $1,000, that $5,000, that $10,000 that you put into a course will teach you astronomical levels above what you can learn at any college.
Yeah, I mean, so you've maybe been in the space a little longer, but we 6, 7 years now. I've been heavy into like having the agency and being involved in brands one way or the other, internet marketing space. And we used to have some interns here and there, and we may end up bringing on some interns eventually, but I came to the conclusion that, so 4-year degrees get out of college most. Obviously, if they're a 4-year degree, like my little brother, graduated recently, but he also had been working with us throughout the whole time. So that's a little different. He had a 4-year degree and he had 4 years of experience working with like an agency. So he, much, much different profile. But a lot of them come out and want like this high salary, but because we've hired a lot of them and interviewed a lot of them, their inexperience is so low and not applicable that really all they're good for is like an intern or super entry level position, which that even is a lot of work, I realize, for our team. Because if we're going to pay any entry level position, they might as well, I'd rather pay a little bit more and have them have some experience, right? And like that's kind of where we're at. Like high school diploma, or like I don't even care, high school diploma, degree, like none of that matters, because I've learned that resumes don't even matter in our world. Like they can have some of the people with the best resumes within a week. I'm like, what the hell were we thinking? Like, how did we not vet this person better? And they had like the best resume. They had, all this quote unquote experience. So we care about their actual on the job experience. And we have almost everybody do test projects now. Do you do that too?
Yeah. The other thing that we realized is that we don't hire people with really good corporate backgrounds because it's a different kind of marketing and they will not budge for this style. Like we are direct response marketers through and through. We have direct response businesses. We can spend money on branding and we understand it. But like if you're working with a marketing director who maybe, or a media buyer who ran ads for Apple, like cute, like that's, anybody can spend money. And like they don't get it. They sell impressions and all that. And like I'd love to be in that business of just like selling air, but the industry that I'm in and the people that I'm connected to, it's a direct response game. It's 1 for 1. Can I make my money? How much can I spend? Can I spend $100K a day? And that guy's not, or girl, they're not going to get it, especially quickly. Now you got to like go back and then you have to fight with the fact that they think they're above you because they might have more tenure and a previous experience or a better, bigger corporate place. I'd rather hire hustlers that learn, they teach, they're self-sufficient, they're interested in learning, they have a big desire for proving something to themselves. Those people always turn out to be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, I will say the team that we're building now, after just years of trial and error, we have a really, really good foundational team right now. I'm very fortunate. We just great team members, a lot of great partnerships, but it's been a ton of trial and error. And that's not just with us. We work with a recruiting firm that I think brings us great talent, and there's stuff that like they can't even locate, and they're doing their best as we kind of learn together. But we don't hire anybody now without a test project, and I think that's gotten rid of 80% of our headache, because they can say they 10 years of email marketing management for this firm and this whatever, and then once you kind of see how they can problem solve and stuff in live action, that's where we really see, hey, is this somebody a culture fit? Because in small businesses, especially remote businesses that are moving as quick as our businesses are, they really have to be resourceful and think on their feet and be proactive. There's just like a culture of kind of just figuring shit out, wearing a lot of hats, right? And if you come from the corporate background where the role is very, very defined, like the roles, unfortunately, even for larger e-com brands, like really aren't that defined. There's a ton of hats that it's constantly shifting and evolving, and you need that person that's maybe a little bit crazy that like likes that constant movement, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's the culture that we built, so I'm not changing it. It's our culture. So I'd rather just find people and fit them into like what our culture is than try to redefine what it is for someone else. Like I tried it prior when I had a bigger local team, and I tried to be everything to everyone, and it just, I realized that at the end of the day, the more successful, faster, efficient people I could have got rid of, and I did, got rid of like half the staff, and like nothing changed. because they were barely doing anything, and they were all glorified. I just graduated with a marketing degree, and all their accolades are like the stuff that we gave, like the little throwaway projects we gave them for our agency's deals or our brands, or like just send these emails. It's basically written, just click here, and other than that, like they didn't know what they were doing. Which that's why resumes suck, because then they go out and they're like, I did all these campaigns. No, you didn't. You were a part of something and you barely managed it. And then we had to pick up the slack. But yeah, I think test projects are 100% the way to go.
We have to, especially with a remote culture. Like some of these people we are potentially paying big, committing a lot of cash to, and we've never met in person. We don't have that in-person vibe, how they interact with other people yet. I mean, that's the risky thing too, is like, how are they going to work with team members remote? We don't know. That's what we can't test but at least we can test the skill set. I want to bring up the mastermind again real quick too. And for those that don't know, by the way, like essentially, and our masterminds are a little bit different, but the reason these things referring to masterminds are really popular in our like internet marketing and e-commerce communities, because so many people work from home, so many people work remote, so many people are partnered with people all over the world, and there's these premium groups out there where you pay quite a bit of money to join, but it's just putting you with other top tier players. So partnerships for driving more revenue or more products, or service providers or manufacturers, or helping buy and sell the businesses. There's a few people at the top that seem to be doing really well, and that's the market that both of us are going after. So just people know, it's basically you're investing to connect with all the top players in the industry to generate that one relationship, or those two relationships that are just going to get you from 5 million to 20 million, or 10 million to 50 million, or whatever, right? Mentorship, business deals, whatever it is from other top tier players. But just I wanted to explain what that is for people that may not be super familiar. But what is your main goal? Like, what is your vision for your mastermind like 5-10 years from now?
I want to be the YPO of e-commerce, like the young person, like be that big, have multiple chapters, and really be the place. And we also are more and more getting into the potential of doing education, but not education so much as like buy my course, more so like really getting into certifications. I mean, we've sent 1 billion emails. We've spent $100 million on ads. Like, I think there's other people with less qualifications that are doing it. Like, I want to certify people, and it's something we've talked about, but that would be like phase 2, really getting into that. And also, a lot of people think like these things are not real sellable companies. An education company, maybe not, but a certification company is, and getting to more corporate certifications. And then also an event company is. A mastermind, maybe not, but we want to do more events. We want to branch out into different areas, smaller things. We want to do more corporate training for people's employees. There's a lot of people that now we're starting to offer like, hey, send your people to us and we'll train them, because they don't know, hey, I got a new guy, I got 2 new guys, what we were just talking about, instead of like, let me go figure it out, take my team's time, bring them over here, let's educate them, and let's do things like that. So really being the center of like being on top of what's going on in e-commerce, what's new. At some point, we are probably going to have a fund. It's definitely something that everyone in the group is already asking us, because we have a lot of deal flow, and we can't buy every business. We can't be involved in every business. And so that's definitely something that we've considered here for potentially at the end of the year, maybe 2022. But yeah, it's really the last thing I wanted to be as a mastermind, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the mastermind is like the tip of the iceberg, right? It's like how you start creating these relationships to then do all these other things because
it's our front end.
Yeah, exactly. It's if you have,
I think the mastermind
50 high level players in a room from all over the country, all over the world, like some good stuff's going to happen. And some of it we don't even know. Like, there's going to be new opportunities that probably come out of your June event that in my June, we have no clue what's going to come. But you get basically the top fraction of 1% in an entire industry, which I would say both of our masterminds have. not just top 1%, but the top fraction of 1%. I mean, there's not that many players in our space doing 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 million plus in revenue. That's the top fraction of 1% in e-commerce, which is crazy to think about because there's so many other industries that have like multi-billion dollar companies. And I think I don't know. I know that I'm sure they're out there, but what are, there's companies doing that much revenue, but not just e-com. I don't like, they do a lot of retail, they do lots of different things, but just, I mean, I'm sure they're out there, but like, are there any doing multiple billions a year in revenue just from e-com? Is that a thing?
Yeah, publicly traded companies.
Just online
Athletics,
sales?
Stitch. Just online, I don't think anyone's doing $1 billion online. No,
So
you got to add anything else as a channel.
do you guys help them with, like getting them into retail and all that? Because I'm sure a lot of your members want to expand into retail.
One of my good friends is the ex-vice president of Target. We've got a lot of connections to Walmart and QVC. And so if it's appropriate, right, like a lot of people think, like, I got a product that's making money, let's get it into these places. And a lot of times, like, your product's not even the right fit for where you think it needs to go. And so we were bringing people in to kind of like show them also, like, how do you pitch them? It's a specific pitch deck. What do you have to have ready? So yeah, we're focusing a lot of our effort into that. Into influencer marketing. Not a lot of people still to this day know how to really work with influencers. Man, not a lot of people know how to really create a lot of user-generated content still. It's crazy. Like, a lot of these people, they're having like one-off success here, right? They're like, oh, my product just makes a lot of money and like I'm having so much success with Facebook. I'm killing it. And they think they're killing it. I'm all freaked out. I'm like, bro, we got to get into Snapchat, TikTok, YouTube. You got to get into multiple channels. And they're like, nah, it's fine. I don't want to mess up my ROAS. And I'm like, dude, I've had businesses that I've owned that are doing 10, 11, $12 million a year. And then Facebook went, and then that business, I had to do a flash sale to get rid of it because like the return just started going down. I didn't have a back end. I didn't have multiple channels. So this is just coming from experience of things that like I've seen. It's, I don't want people to be naive enough to just think that it's in one channel. So like we're a big focus for us is channels, influencers, other retail opportunities as well. We work with a few people in the clothing space that we're trying to connect them into different opportunities, whether it's in Target or even Nordstrom's, things like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can tell you firsthand, I mean, we went into Q4 where we have our conservative patriotic brand, Proud Patriots, and we were preparing for a massive Q4, and then Facebook and Google banned political ads, and it was far from massive, I'll tell you that. It sucked. We had staffed up. We purchased a bunch of Trump bobblehead inventory and like all this stuff, and it was, fortunately, we ended up starting advertising on a couple other platforms and did okay during Q4, but not anywhere what we thought. So not only did it not perform, we dug ourselves into a giant hole because we were banking on this Q4. So we're investing in team, investing in inventory, and because we were at that time really just focused on Facebook and Google, and then out of necessity we were like, oh fuck, now we got to find some other traffic sources. But I mean, that cost us millions in revenue, and I can only imagine if we were prepared properly, which we weren't, but typical like business happens, like if only we would have done this, whatever. But if we would have had these other traffic channels ready to go by like the beginning of Q4, it would have been game over. But it wasn't until December, January, we started cracking the code on these other things, and it cost us a lot of revenue. So diversification is definitely key.
What about you? What's your goal with the mastermind, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's I think we're both relationship guys, right? So I think ultimately we've talked about getting involved in people's brands and all different types of businesses, but I think if we just focus on having a good time, building those solid relationships, helping people out authentically, right? Like I genuinely, our e-com businesses will generate more in a month of revenue probably, or agency stuff in a month, and the mastermind will in a year. It's not like it's gigantic revenue. It's okay revenue, but it's really about the people. It's about getting all these badasses in a room and it's, yeah, I mean, I'm open-minded. I think there's going to be opportunities that come. I was literally just talking to a close friend of mine that's in our mastermind, and she was telling me that she's getting all these deal opportunities. She is an influencer and gets like people like crazy deal opportunities. They're like, she's like, yeah, a jet company reached out and they want to do a partnership where I promote the jets and then I get to fly in the jets for free, like whatever. And I was like, who's handling these deals for you? And she's like, oh, I just kind of like do it myself. And I'm like, do you like deal structuring? Like, you're also doing yourself a disservice because you're making yourself accessible to these brands. And I love deal structure stuff, and these are big deals. I was like, what if you let like me handle that? It's stuff I like to do. I could get us much better deals. I'll take a small piece of it, and it's a win-win for everybody. And she's like, that's a great idea.
Right.
Let's talk about it more. Like, that just came up organically. If I end up doing something with her, it could be massive, and I had no clue that would ever even possibly come up in a conversation. But it's just like that stuff, when you're around fucking badass people, like stuff like that's going to come up. And these are massive deals. We're not talking about like a $500 a month retainer. These are like, hey, like, if I was talking to her, I'm like, the jet company not only would do free jet rides for her and her, friends and family, like there would be probably cash involved too, and she's about to sign, maybe, example, I'm not saying she would sign this deal, but she's about to sign the deal, maybe just her get jet rides. I'd be like, dude, I want friends and family. I want some cash out of the deal. We want some affiliate revenue. I mean, so, yeah, it's just one example, but it's just creating those relationships and helping each other out. And from that, I think there's going to be no shortage of, doing more stuff we like and can earn us good income.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm glad we could talk about the mastermind. That's really the most for this project that's been consuming my life in 2021. For those that have listened or that know me personally, this mastermind project has been kicking me in the ass. But I'm so excited to have this first event, and it's gonna be unbelievable. It's a lot of work wrangling in all these entrepreneurs, is it not, or what? These guys.
Yeah, it is. It's everything, dude. Like, it really, like, and I can see how busy you are with it, and like it just means it's a good, like, you're really putting your heart and soul into it, because there's plenty of groups like this where you just go like, all right, it's going to be here, they throw you out, here's a Facebook group, see ya, pay me the money, right? But when you really care, you're putting a great experience, you're meticulous about who you're bringing in, you're meticulous about how things are going to be structured. That's where people don't leave. They get so much value that, like, why would you leave,
Yeah, I mean, this is what these are the thoughts that go through my mind, and why it's our group's going to be top tier. Like, I literally lose sleep because most of our members have families. They're flying from across the country or across the world. I mean, they're literally leaving their families and dedicating sometimes a week of their time, with travel and stuff going on, like, because of something that I'm putting together, or because me and my, not just me, but I'm leading the project, but we have multiple business partners in it. But like, I don't take that lightly, like, because I value time so much. My number one core value in life is freedom. Like, I value time ridiculously, and I know people are putting a week of their time. Besides, like, financial investment's one thing. For a lot of our members, it's like, they don't want to just give the money away, but if it's a good opportunity, investing the cash isn't that big of a deal. But in leaving their family, traveling, flying through airport. We have some Canadian members that literally have to fly out of Toronto and fly back through Buffalo and drive up because of stupid Canadian, like, COVID lockdowns. Like, the stuff, like, that's putting a lot of faith in, shit, I hope Jeremy puts together a good event. I'm going through all these hoops to be there. So I don't take that lightly, and I just put more pressure on myself to make sure every person that's leaving their life, leaving their family, investing time and resources gets a lot out of it, because I know what it's like to go to events that I don't like and that have a bad group, and I don't want people to experience something that negative.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I totally get where you're coming from on that.
Well, I'm excited to go to your event later this year for sure. I know it'll be good.
Yeah, man.
So we were talking about somebody, I want to transition topics here, and I don't know how much we have to cover on this topic, but I am curious your thoughts. And I won't say who it was, but we were texting about somebody, and I know you're going to know who it is when I say it. We both were like, that guy has like giant ego. And that is common, I think, for younger entrepreneurs. I think it's common in a lot of people with success. Maybe the internet marketing community, it's a little bit more, you see it a little more frequently because there's so many people that experience success at a young age, which if you're not like a full-grown man, right, when you're in your mid-20s and you're earning more than a lot of people may in a lifetime, it's of course it's going to get to your head. So like, what are your thoughts on the amount of ego in the internet marketing world?
So I'm going to be super transparent about it. I would probably say that for the last like 6 years, I have not really had one. Prior to that, I totally had a big ego. And I don't even know if it was my ego. I think it was just like massive comparison syndrome. Like I would go to an event and like I'm making 100 grand and you're making 200 and John's making 300. Now I'm like, I'm worthless. And so I'd have to do something to try to make it bigger. There's all this comparison stuff. Like it was never my projects. I almost like lived through trying to beat other things or other people rather than trying to actually build my own things. And so I think that's the big problem that you have sometimes with, you disappeared. That's the big problem you have is like when you're new to this, a lot of it hits you fast. Like if you get good at it, you make money fast. Then you meet people. They might not be the right people. Their mindset might not be in the right place, and so it can kind of veer you to the side, and you can become very egotistic. I mean, for me, man, the reality is, and this is how people should think about it. Whatever you're making, there's someone making 10 times what you're making. And then there's someone making 10 times what they're making. So chill. Just focus on your projects, focus on people, and focus on being happy. You know, being happy is way more important than having money, having gratitude. And I know that sounds cheesy. I used to think that sounded cheesy, but like when you really put things into perspective year over year, how much you've changed, how much you've grown, the relationship you have, the memories, you don't put a dollar bill to that. You know, you don't put a dick measuring thing to that. You put your happiness to it. And so I think that when I started thinking like that, my ego completely got checked, and I don't think about comparing myself or fighting against or anything like that. And I think the best biz dev people, and I'm a biz dev guy, you're a biz dev guy, I think the best people like that are givers, not takers. And if you're a taker, it's an ego thing. It's an insecurity thing. I think this industry can catch you quick and kind of crumble you up and throw you away unless you really change the way that you think.
Yeah, that's well said. That's something that's been important for me, and like we're the average of 5, and that's something I've been super focused on in 2021 is recalibrating the 5 people I'm around the most, right? Because it's so simple, but you are the 5 people you're around the most. And what I've realized is very, very healthy for me is being around people much more successful than me for many reasons. You learn from them, but they also just keep you in check. I mean, if I just go based on who lives next to me downtown, I get a little too comfortable. I feel, oh, I'm doing pretty well. And then I'm around other people that, like the houses they're looking at, the things they're talking about, putting money, the amount of income they can earn off these real estate deals. I'm like, holy shit, I got a long way to go. Like, I'm doing okay, and I think it's healthy to be grateful and happy to an extent with where you're at. Like, hey, I've worked hard, I've built some success, I should be proud of myself. And then I think it's that fine line between being grateful and being proud of yourself and thinking you're like top shit. And I'm just around some people that, like, I don't know about you, but I don't earn enough income or have a net worth to like buy a private jet. Right. But when I'm around people that talk about looking at jets, and it's just like, we're doing well, but I'm like, how many t-shirts do I gotta sell to buy a fucking jet, right? Like, we got a ways to go. So it's been healthy for me to just be around those people that put my ego in check. And it's the only downside of being around super successful people. I've realized 90% of things are great. The one downside I've had to work through is sometimes that, and again, one downside. So 90, like a million good things, the one possible bad thing is that self-comparison stuff comes in. And it's just like, man, am I gonna ever be that successful? Like, what value do they get from me? Thoughts like that come up in my head. And so, working through those and typical stuff, especially as a younger up and coming entrepreneur. But outside of that, it's really humbling to just have those people around you that are just way past you, and you're like, okay, I'm doing okay, but I'm not going to be bragging too much about it, especially around these guys.
Yeah, the thing I like the best too is like great relationships. They're super kind, but it's the five people, right? Like for me, like my five close ones, I guess, make me realize like, oh wow, okay, so it's going to take me this much to build a business to that. I can start thinking about exiting businesses and these strategic partnerships, and that's a skill set of mine. Or I can do this and this. This is how I find leverage faster. This is how I create more compound interest in businesses that I don't have to exactly be involved in. Like, it's helped me create like a more strategic way of thinking in business. Because if it was just me hanging out with peers that are like my age and my same skill set, then all right, I guess more is better. And like more is not better. Like for me, I've put a lot of time into understanding leverage lately. And, I talk with Josh about this all the time. I feel like he's very good at the leverage thing. And it's like that's a huge thing that I learned from people. Leverage and gratefulness. Like a lot of these dudes they're not satisfied, but they're happy. And I can live that way. I can be unsatisfied because I'm always trying to chase myself more than a number. I just want to chase what can Los do? Like, what's the end for that? Like, what can he achieve? I don't know. So I want to chase that more so even than like a specific number. But then when I do create revenue, now I know how to allocate it better. Now I know how to create more opportunities that could create more exitable opportunities, which compound the money speed in which I could do things faster. So I always think it's a great idea to, always be leveling up and always be trying to make deeper relationships, man. I mean, I think 90% of this conversation today has been more about relationships, and we're relationship people, but you can't deny, like, both of us are in great positions, certainly not like anything to brag, but we're in amazing positions. I would say 90% is because of our relationship skills.
For sure. And we talked about it that night. I think one of the first nights we hung out, I think it was the first time we ever had dinner at the U Club, how a majority of our lives, at least for me, and I think you said you resonated, I was so insecure about me not having a skill set. Like, I'm around a guy like Max or even my little brother or just like all these people on our team that are just super talented and like smart marketers and like that have this quote unquote skill, right? That it's like, hey, they could always earn an income with this skill no matter what. Like if all our businesses shut down today, tomorrow Max could be a media buyer for, name a company, right? So like worst case. So, but for me, I'm just like, is my skill even employable? Am I like hireable? And it wasn't until a year or two ago. And fortunately, I have some the older, more successful people in my life that were the ones that really impacted. They're like reminding me like, hey, you put everything together. Like, you brought in these people. You did this. Like, you put these pieces together. Now just don't fuck it up. But how are you able to get over that similar insecurity?
I don't think I'm ever gonna actually get over it. But I am very well aware now that what you just said, like, there's a lot of the businesses that I have, whether partnerships or not, like, I put them all together. I'm also great at strategy. I can like figure out marketing and funnels and the concepts. I'm not going to go click the buttons, but before I used to, but now I don't have to. And the more I lean into that, the more all my businesses grow, or I find new opportunities inside of things, because I'm just allowing myself to actually live in my unique ability. And that was a humongous problem that I had before. You and I talked about it. I didn't let myself be that way because I was just scared of me. Like I was just scared of like you would think that I'm a dumbass or someone else would think something else of me. And when I stopped caring about everyone else, I was like, this is what my skill set is. People will find me. Like I most of the time I can't take on opportunities. Like I spend most of my time saying no, like overseeing deals for me and Josh, overseeing deals for me and Kent, overseeing deals for myself. Like we can't do them because like the stuff we have is already growing so much, and that all came from the strategy and the structure of that people like me and you put together.
Yeah. What if we were to break down like in 2 words, like what would you say your skill set is in business?
Coming up with the idea, like strategizing how it's going to make money.
Ideas and strategy. I like that. I think I'm similar. I think I'm like vision and relationships. But even like I don't even know if I'm so much great at strategy as much as just like finding the people that are good at strategy. And it's like just soundboarding off them. And it's like 1 out of every 10 of my ideas is good. The other 9, they got to be like, hey, you know, it's a good try, Jeremy. But it's like that 1, they're like, fuck, all right. It's like 1 good idea a month. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
What I know you're also balancing family life. So what's that like, you know, being as busy as you are?
It's up and down, man. I talk to my wife about this all the time. I think the only person that stresses out about it is me. Like my wife's like, dude, I get it. Like you're killing it. Everything's amazing with us. Like me and her have an amazing relationship, great dynamic. When I'm with my kids, you know, I don't text back. Like I'm with my kids. Like I'm in Universal. I'm like spending as much memory-based time. I'm at the Ritz. Like I'm on vacations, many memories, right? Trying to make those memories. Because you're not going to make a lot of memories just sitting in the room like on a weekend. So I try to make it like an experience because I'm able to do it. But it's just me stressing out over trying to be the best at everything, man. Like I want to be a better dad. I want to be a better husband. And like sometimes I get home at 1 o'clock. Sometimes I get home at 9. Sometimes I got to do business shit. Sometimes I can't be home for 5 days because I got an event or multiple speaking legs, like here. And everyone's okay with it. I think it's just me that needs to like settle down a little bit more and be like, everything is seasonal and everything, you know, when I'm doing work, it should be just, I'm doing work. When I'm with my kids, it should be 100% I'm doing my kid thing. But I have the kind of personality where I'm addicted to being addicted, which means like I'm addicted to trying to be better and increasing and doing more of the thing I'm doing. So I overthink shit all the time as well. Which is definitely to my detriment, because I'm always just trying to make it better. It's not negative. It's just I'm trying to make whatever I'm doing better, whether it's for you or for me or for them. Like pretty selfless in that regard, which only has served, but it also like totally fucks with my head.
Yeah. Now we can relate there on the overthinking. I mean, we should have an overthinking contest. I wonder who would win. So how many hours a week do you think you work right now on average? And then like, do you envision yourself working that pace for a long time? Do you envision like, how do you envision your workload evolving? It's like a 2-parter question, I guess.
Lately, it's definitely been less. It goes in like sprints. If something's going on, I'm heavy in the sprint of making sure that the system and the people are moving into the direction. Like I'm still big on like I manage all the numbers for every business we have. I just like to know where they all are, and then I like to have a game plan. Like, how are we going to get to this other number? Like, what's the plan? Who's got an idea? No one? Okay, well, this is the idea. Let's manage to that idea. So it's that. But lately, I've been really focused more on like what am I going to do? Like, what's the next thing for me on where do I need to spend my time, right? Like with Powerhouse or with the brands that we own, strategizing and getting better people here, really elevating the people that are in the office now. Like they've taken massive shifts into becoming the best version of themselves so far. Which has helped me work a lot less. Like I don't have like how long do I work? I definitely work less most of the time, and sometimes I even wonder what I have to go do. But then sometimes I'm like I can't breathe this week. Like I'm slammed. Like I can't even talk. So it really just kind of shifts on depending what's going on. Is there a fire? And then, how much I want to put the gas on something too. Because like there's some business where you're like, all right, we could scale that more. What's the problems with all that? Like, do I really want to go through all that, or should that just coast a little bit more and I put my energy and time somewhere else, or we work with someone to help offset the issues that could happen here. So up and down,
Yeah.
50-50.
No, I'm the same way. I mean, like I feel like lately it's been. And by the way, you said something earlier that was really important, and I've come to the same conclusion. I never want to start a business from scratch again. Like that's so much work. Like just come in with a business that's underachieving.
Right.
Come in with the business that has potential to be massive, but that's doing $1 million in revenue, and you can grow. Like they figured out most of the hard stuff already. Like even
Yeah.
me and my little brother, we've talked about for a while and thank God I had this realization. By the way, I think this is a sign that I'm starting to figure something out in business. But we've been talking about for years to start a nationwide franchise concept, and it was just like 6 months ago. I'm like, dude, why would we start a franchise concept? Let's find something that has like 4 locations that should have 1,000 locations, and create a partnership with them. They're gonna have all their top SKUs figured out. They're gonna know who their target client avatar is. They're gonna like have so many things figured out, and we don't have to do all of that. Like they're gonna have the sourcing for their product. I mean, they're gonna have everything that we would need on a foundational level figured out, and we can just focus on growing, like adding fuel to that, rather than like building it and then adding fuel. All the hard work.
100%. If we're not getting equity in something, Josh and I have talked about buying something. We've got some ideas that are totally not even e-commerce. I'll talk to you about them offline because we're not talking about it yet. But yeah, like we're not gonna start something like at all ever again. Like there's just no point. You have what you have, grow that, and then you and I, people like us, get opportunities. I'm looking at something that's making 1 million some plus, and if we can add fuel to the fire with our skill sets or relationships or reputation, then I'm in. If not, like I'll never be like, oh, this is a cool idea. You want to just start a bank account with it? No, fuck, that's so hard. Especially now, it's getting harder. I'd rather just come in and like look at things. And I think that's just I think that's the future of like my role, is really like figuring out what the best deals are for us and all of our brands, and what we want to do next.
Yeah, I mean, and especially in e-com and internet marketing, because the barrier to entry is so low, there's so many people that have these like random distressed assets that maybe they just kind of like stopped paying attention to or whatever, and they'll like, oh yeah, I have this other side, it just passively does this little bit of revenue, but I haven't really cared about it. And like, yeah, you can just, I mean, there's tons of businesses in our world, you probably see it, that the brand owners would basically give them to you for free for an exchange for some rev share or royalty or something.
Right.
It's like little to no cash out of pocket for businesses that already have customer lists, that already have stuff. Like it's just, yeah, why would you start something new, especially in the position we are with why do we start our masterminds? Here we go. I think we're figuring that out. So I had one more question that's relating to family for you, and I don't know if I've ever asked you this, but what is the definition of happiness to you?
Uh, Being free to make your own decisions whenever you want and sharing them with people you love.
Are you happy?
Yeah, I'm happy as fuck. Yeah, I mean, dude, I did 8 vacations last year. I work with my best friends. I get to travel. As you know, I'm going on a trip with my other best friend, Kent, at the end of the month in June for a full week with their family. We did 4 vacations together last year. Josh and I have a few vacations planned. We're going to Mexico with like the team here. Like I get to spend time with the people I love. Me and you are meeting up this week. I hang out with my family all the time, and I'm working with people I love, building things that I can't believe that I'm even doing this. So I couldn't not be happy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel that's really authentic. I feel that's true. And I feel like I'm heading down that path. I feel like you have a little bit more clarity and you have your family and stuff, but I admire that. That's good. I can tell you like do a lot of what you want to do. And I mean, think about how many people have that freedom. I mean, it's such a small percentage of this country.
It's by design though, man. Like I could kill myself to make more money, but like what's more money if I'm going to kill myself? Like, I want to spend time with people I love. Like that is a clear thing for me. And like, I'm very meticulous about who I want to be friends with, how much I want to be friends with them. Like you and I have become super close, very much on purpose. I think on both ends, like that's how I am, like direct on things that I want to do, and I'm indirect, like exactly the same way on things I don't want to do. I'm like not worth my time. Don't want to do this. Don't want to waste my time there. No, like I'm in a great place to make good decisions I don't want them to just be financial. They have to be emotional and worth like my happiness as well.
Absolutely. A close friend of mine, his successful entrepreneur, his daughter had a brain aneurysm, and he had the freedom to drop what he was doing. She went out to Colorado, and she was in the hospital for a couple months. Unfortunately, lived and is doing really well right now. But at the time, there was very uncertain. And he had the freedom. He got an apartment really close to the hospital, and basically spent every day at the hospital with her for a few months while she was there. And I thought that was so great because, first of all, that he did that, but secondly, how many people in this country have the ability to even do that? Unfortunately, a
Right.
very small percentage, right? That have the freedom to do it, the financial means. Because some may earn good, okay, maybe you're earning some good income, but you don't have the freedom to do something like that, right? Or maybe you have the freedom, but you can't go get a second apartment in Colorado on a whim. So I just thought that was so cool, and that's what motivates me in business is that freedom. Like that is an ultimate level of freedom right there. On a whim, get an apartment in a random state so you can be with and spend time with somebody you love.
The only thing money can't buy is time.
Yeah.
That's the most important asset.
I agree. Last topic I wanted to bring up with you, and you wrote it down in your little form. You didn't give me much to work with in your form list, which is fine because we know each other. But what you did write down was talking about your biggest failures. So what is when you think of biggest failure, what is the one that comes to mind for you, like your biggest, bloodiest failure in business?
Man, I think not. I think rushing into things was it. Like I have had multiple businesses. A lot of them really successful. I've had two failed ones, and I think that they were fully forced because I looked at money prior to looking at relationship, and they cost me millions of dollars buying people out, doing a bunch of stuff like that, which is all worth it. But I think that we've talked. It's a good way to close it because we've talked about relationships in a bunch of different ways. I think you have to be very methodical, whether you're struggling, because I, in some capacities, like at that point, I was probably like not struggling, but like thinking like, oh, this could get me there faster, instead of like, how long could this last? How great could this be? Like, what kind of relationship is this 6 years from now, 7 years from now? Like, is this still something that lights me up spending time with this person? I knew a lot of those were no, but the money would have been super fast, and it was, and it made a ton of money very quickly in that business. But it was definitely a failure in the way that, I would go about thinking of things now. And I think it's just, that was like 7 years ago, 8 years ago, maybe more, but I'm a lot more mature, and I think I value relationships and things differently. And for people that are just getting started or even making a couple $1,000,000 a year, whatever the case may be, like you fall into a thing in this industry where like things can move so fast. I would take some time to assess the person, assess the relationship, see if it's something you want to, have two things that I say now. And like, I live by this. I don't do any business that I can't present at my daughter's school. And I don't become business partners with people that I don't want at my barbecue. And like, that's dead ass, like 100% the things that I would have probably said no to one of those two things prior. And, I still did it, which was, I would consider it a mistake. Even though it made a bunch of money, I would consider it a mistake.
What, I know you're working with Josh on a bunch of stuff now. Like what about Josh's relationship, from, I guess you can say personal or business or both? Like, what is it that you like value, and what gave you the comfort to do all these deals together?
we immediately, prior to doing this in business, we were already getting close because we spoke a bunch of events together, and we were at when we got like super close was another mastermind that we're both into. Just spent the whole time together and started texting each other. I just knew that Josh and I would be good friends, and he brought an idea that he was going to do to me, and I was like, no, it's a terrible idea. We should do this instead. And he's like, all right, I'll do that. And then the thing I mean, we're just, it's exactly that. Like Josh and I are like super close. Like because of that, now we do almost everything together. You know what I mean? If not everything together. And so much has flourished so much faster because like I trust him 100%. He trusts me 100%. I mean, like we've built businesses at this point where like I just text him. I'm like, hey, we own this now. This is how it looks, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh shit, okay. Like there's massive trust. I don't just love him. I love his girl. I love Charlie. So it's like I know that his girl and my girl can be close, which is hugely important to me. If my girl doesn't like your girl, that's going to make it weird for us to travel, hang out and things like that. I know it sounds like that's important, 100%. Like I want this guy in my life forever, right? So it's massively important. And just like everything, like we also complement each other because Josh should come in and be like, we should do this. I'm like, well, that's a lot of work. We should start here, and then we'll do this, and we'll hire these people. And he's like, all right, get it done. And I'll go do that thing, you know, and but he'll come back and like, and we should sell it like this and this, and like, and that will work. So like, we fill in each other's gaps, right? So I think that that's made a really good relationship on a business level, and then on a friend level. I mean, he's just the dude. Like, he's really become one of my best friends. I mean, we text hourly. I mean, he's in Turks and Caicos right now. We're just texting each other, not work wise. Like it has nothing to do with work. And so I think that that's the great signs for me, like that's the kind of sign of a partner I want. We don't have to be. It's awkward if like you just have a partner and like it's transactional, you know. So I think that that's one of the big things that I love about Josh. And he's got a great heart, man. Like a lot of people don't know him. Like they know him as like the super smart savant kind of guy, but the dude's like loyal to a freaking T, and has an amazing heart.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm starting to become the same way. Like I feel I used to be like, oh, capital is capital and whatever, a business partner, you can just be business. But if you're spending a lot of time with somebody, it's very challenging to not be really good friends with them on a personal level. Like I don't know. I think especially like you and me are committed to personal growth and being authentic and stuff. I mean, if you're just super surface level and fake, I guess you can pull that off. But if you're just, it is so difficult to not have that super close friendship with somebody you work with regularly, in my opinion. And I've realized that. And if people aren't aligned, I mean, I guess there's like opportunities for like angel capital and stuff where it just really doesn't matter. But if you're communicating with somebody on a somewhat of a regular basis, like that personal relationship is a must for me. And it hasn't always been like that, but it feels so much better when it is. Because it's like if you can have fun and share crazy moments, but then be like, oh yeah, we just closed this deal or we just had a record month. And then it's just like, it makes the personal moments even better, you know?
Yeah. It's celebrating with friends. It's amazing. Like that's why I'm happy. Like I get to celebrate my biggest wins with my best friends. Like who else can say that? And we make a lot of money, which is cool. But like the other part is more awesome. And then we go on trips. Like we're going on a yacht in Miami in like a few weeks. We got our event, then we're doing a yacht just us. You know, like it's amazing to be able to celebrate those things with someone you really care about.
That's awesome. What kind of yacht thing you doing? That sounds dope.
Yeah, we got a 100-footer, 105-footer.
Damn, dude. Look at you balling over here. Well, cool, man. Anything you wanted to share or chat about before we bounce?
No, man, I think that's it. Thank you for having me. Text me after this. I'm going to try to see if I can go meet you tonight. I was talking to my wife about it. But we can talk about that offline. But yeah, no, thanks for having me, man. Love doing this. We should do this more, especially because we're local. Maybe we should do one just like live together.
Yeah, I'd be open to that, and I think it'd be cool to just chat like about like challenges and obstacles we're working through as they're happening here and there, because we're both growing this new similar venture, so we can kind of like troubleshoot. We're probably both going to learn a lot after our June meetups, So we definitely should collaborate about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, thanks for coming on, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Appreciate you, brother. Talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to Openly Outspoken with Jeremy Adams. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast player so you get updated when new episodes are live. If you enjoyed this episode, the best way to support is to leave a 5-star review and share the podcast with people in your life that you feel would benefit from these types of discussions. Visit openlyoutspoken.com for additional details on the show. Find out how to connect with Jeremy on social media and learn more information about Jeremy's personal and business life. We'll see you next time.